When it comes to sharing food, I think of casseroles. That is like the most warm, homey, wonderful dish to share. So I have a clean eating chicken and rice bake. Now what makes this dish clean eating is the fact that we don't use any cream of soup. So like cream of mushroom, cream of chicken. And really, if you ever look in the ingredients on one of those cans, you'll be alarmed to see what they put in those. So it's really easy to make your own creamy sauce, and I'm going to show you how to do that in this recipe. All you need for this recipe is 1 pound or so of chicken breast, 2 bags of frozen broccoli florets, or you can use fresh, 2 cups of chicken broth, 8 ounces of cream cheese, and I like to use Greek yogurt cream cheese, but any kind will work, 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1 cup of shredded cheese, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs, 3/4 cup of rice, and I use brown basmati rice, so any kind of brown rice is going to be a little bit healthier, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and some lemon juice. Okay, so we're going to warm up a pan over medium-high heat, and we're going to start by adding 1 teaspoon of minced garlic to the pan, and you just want to get that so that it cooks just a little bit for about a minute in that warm pan. You want to do that anytime you add spices, especially raw garlic or onion to a pan. Add it first because that allows the flavor to really come out as it cooks in the hot pan. If you add it second or third as an ingredient, it usually just kind of gets slightly heated up and really the flavor doesn't fully come out of it. So you want to wait till it kind of sizzles and you just kind of let it all get warmed up in that pan, and it's absolutely delicious that way. Then we're going to add 2 cups of chicken broth. And then we're going to add the whole 8-ounce block of cream cheese, and this is what makes the sauce really creamy. So we're just going to kind of break it up a little bit so it can cook quicker in that warm chicken broth. And we're just going to let that heat up for a few minutes, just until it's warm enough to start to melt that cream cheese. So as you can see, the sauce is simmering nicely and the cream cheese is starting to warm up and just melt into that sauce. So I'm going to take a whisk, and this is a really good tool to use for this, and really just get the cream cheese whisked in so that it's nice and smooth. And to the sauce, I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to do the Parmesan cheese in there. Just continue to whisk as you add everything in. And if you find like there are clumps at all of the cream cheese, just turn up the heat just a little bit, and the warmer that cream cheese gets, it will melt beautifully in the sauce. Okay, now I'm going to add some lemon juice. So you can do like a 1/4 cup of lemon juice or just the juice of 1 whole lemon. The lemon juice just adds a little bit of flavor to the sauce. A little bit of freshness and zestiness. Is that a word? Zestiness? It's my made-up word. All right, so this sauce is looking really good. You can see how creamy that's looking. And you don't want it to be thick because you're gonna end up baking everything in this sauce, so you don't want it to get too thickened up on the stove. It will thicken up in the oven. So we're gonna add this to our baking dish along with the chicken, rice, and broccoli, and we're gonna bake it off. Okay, so we have our creamy sauce made for the chicken casserole. Now we're gonna add our chicken, and I just cubed it up into bite-sized cubes, and that will just bake right in the pan. So that's the lovely part of this dish. You don't have to cook the chicken ahead of time. You don't have to cook the broccoli or the rice. It all does the work right in the oven. And then we're gonna add our broccoli florets. Now I did use frozen because that's my go-to. I love frozen veggies because it's already washed and cut for you. So if you're gonna use frozen, just thaw them out first. And I just did that in the microwave. Then we have our rice, and we're gonna add our cream sauce over the top. Then I'm just gonna stir this up just so everything gets baked in that sauce. And again, this is one of those things, it's just like the pasta dish. It doesn't look great when I'm, mixing this all together because it's raw chicken and dry rice and uncooked broccoli. But I'm telling you, once everything gets baked together in the oven, it is so warm and comforting and delicious. It is the perfect dish to make if you're gonna give someone some food. And what I love about casseroles too is they freeze wonderfully. So I find whenever I bring people a dish, they're usually getting dishes from other people, right? There's a reason. They're having a baby, they've been to the hospital, maybe they don't feel good. There's always a reason that you're usually bringing people food, unless you're Dashing Dish and you have a plethora of food and you're just bringing people food all the time. But that being said, a lot of times people don't have the capacity to eat every single meal that's being brought to them. So if you make them something that freezes well, that's really thoughtful, because then they can pop it in the freezer and take it out when they've ran out of dishes that other people have made them. So now we're gonna top this with cheese and some breadcrumbs. So I just have some shredded cheese here, and this is gonna melt so good. Now, if you are gonna make this ahead for someone and you assume that they'll pop it in the freezer, you could always give them the dish with a little baggie of cheese, and that way they can put it on right before they bake it, which I find it tastes the best. You can freeze the cheese once you bake it and freeze it, but I just find it tastes best when you top it with cheese right before you put it in the oven. And then we're gonna top it with our breadcrumbs. And I always encourage people, maybe making food is not your thing. Maybe you love to help in other ways. Maybe you could help with someone's children and you love taking care of kids. Find the thing that brings you joy in sharing. Maybe it's your time, maybe it's another talent that you have. But we all have gifts and talents that we can share with people. Mine just happens to be food, but find a way that you can help those in need using the gifts and talents that God has given you. So now I'm gonna top this with foil. I'm gonna bake it 375 for 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna remove the foil and bake it for another 10 minutes.